Hi, folks. Welcome to Crisco's Corner. Well. CNN host says world is upside down as Michigan poll shows Trump ahead by 20 points on Israel-Gaza. It's hard to imagine that Donald Trump would be any more sympathetic to what's going on in Gaza than Joe Biden is, Dana Bash argued. They think somehow, some way, that it's not Joe Biden's fault what happened in Israel-Gaza the way it's turning out, and it's not Joe Biden's fault that the ultra-left progressives are marching by the hundreds of thousands, and 95% of them are devout anti-Semites that hate the state of Israel and want it wiped off the face of the earth and be taken over by Palestine and other Arab countries, Muslim countries. That's the reason why. Well, how about the fact that gas prices are through the roof, that it's hard to live, it's hard to pay rent, food costs 30-40% more. The inflation is out of control. I'm 67. I haven't seen inflation like this since the late 70s, early 80s. I got married in 79. I remember. It was horrible, absolutely horrible. And let's look at another reason why, besides Israeli-Gaza issue, Joe Biden is losing. Check this out. This is on the border of the U.S. at El Paso. Well, isn't that interesting? If we don't have a border, you don't have a country. And these people are being spread all over the United States at taxpayer expense, I might add. CNN host Dana Bash marveled, I love that word, marveled Friday at how former President Donald Trump is leading against President Biden on most key issues in Michigan, most notably on the Israel-Gaza war. Now, there is a very large contingent of Muslims in Michigan. They were brought there several years ago, quite a large one, actually. I forget her name, the one there that Ilhan Omar, I believe, represents that district, at least part of it. And you see how she acts. Besh spoke about polling conducted in Michigan and Pennsylvania showing Trump leading in the Great Lakes state and the presumptive candidates tied in the Keystone State. Right now, Pennsylvania is neck and neck, and I've never figured that one out. I know I live in upstate New York, and I know that New York City determines how the state votes. I get it. And Philadelphia determines how Pennsylvania goes. But there's a lot of small town, rural people. I live right above the Pennsylvania border, about 12 miles away. I go to Pennsylvania quite often. And it's upstate Pennsylvania. Western Pennsylvania is a great place. Very similar to upstate New York. We don't have the big cities like Philadelphia and New York City controlling us. She said that if Trump wins both, that's Michigan and Pennsylvania, Biden cannot afford to lose any other swing states, such as Nevada, Arizona, Georgia, Wisconsin, or Nebraska's 2nd Congressional District, who would not win the White House. I don't think that Biden's going to be able to win Georgia anymore, even though that went very far blue with the transplants into Georgia, especially in the Atlanta suburbs. But I think they're doing the right thing in Pennsylvania and Georgia, registering people, informing people. There's a huge registration drive going on for Republicans right now in Pennsylvania. And then, of course, on Election Day is what they call GOTV. When I ran in elections in upstate New York, I was a councilman for 8 years. They call it GOTV, and that stands for Get Out the Vote. I do have to say, in all fairness, Democrats are much better at getting out the vote than Republicans are. Look at the things that Democrats do that greatly increase their chances of winning, and Republicans need to mirror those. Legal ones, of course, mind you. The news host went on to express shock, mind you, like that scene in what's that movie, that Casablanca. It's shocking that there's gambling going on here. And went on to express shock that abortion and democracy are the only two issues where Biden has an advantage in both states. How can you have an advantage in democracy when you're trying to bankrupt your political opponent? You're trying to put him in jail. How is that democracy? And second of all, we don't even live in a democracy, thankfully. We live in a republic. That's why there's a Senate. That's why there's an electoral college. We're in a republic. And the Democrats, especially the progressives, want a multicultural democracy. It's been tried around the world, has always failed miserably, and millions have died, literally. So the only issue he has is abortion. That's why the vice president went to an abortion clinic, the first time ever a vice president went to one of those. You may look at other issues, U.S. and world affairs, economy, immigration, Israel, Gaza. Trump has an advantage. Actually, if you look at the Israel-Gaza question, the fact that Trump has a 20-point advantage in Michigan, I mean, the world is upside down. Ooh, too bad, Dana. I guess things aren't so happy over at CNN, especially with all the budget cuts they have. CNN political director David Chalian argued that Trump's advantage might not be enthusiasm for his policy, but the dissatisfaction of Michigan's large population of Muslim and Arab Americans with Biden's position on Israel. Oh, so it's not the fact that he did all the horrible things to the country. It's not the fact he opened up the border and let millions in. It's not all the things I talked about. It's the fact it's just one contingent. Trump didn't do anything right when he was president for 4 years. How about the Abraham Accords in the Middle East? Any other person that was president of the United States that put that together would have got a Nobel Prize. Ask your progressive friends when President Obama received the Nobel Prize, ask him what it was for. You're going to get this. You'll get this reaction. Crickets. He didn't do anything but get elected. And the last time I looked, how the hell is that a Nobel Prize when more bombs were dropped by far during the Obama first 4 years than Trump's? The world was a lot peaceful place when Trump was president. I think that finding probably explains a lot of Joe Biden's troubles in Michigan right now as well. Yeah, it's not all the other crap that's gone wrong. I mean, it's obviously an issue that we saw in the primary where the uncommitted vote against him. We see young voters, independents, people who have been affiliated with this calling for a ceasefire movement. Very frustrated with the president and his policies, so that's clearly partly at play here in Michigan. Well, you got to make excuses. Yeah, no question, Bash replied. But it's hard to imagine that Donald Trump would be any more sympathetic to what's going on in Gaza than Joe Biden is, which is what is so surprising. Who's not sympathetic to innocent civilians being killed? There's nobody that isn't sympathetic to that, except for Hamas, maybe. Hamas is putting them in places where they will get killed. And think about this for a minute. If these people, Hamas I'm talking about now, are so noble of the people they control, mind-wise in the schools with anti-Semitic classes and all kinds of other horrible stuff, if they're such great people, why won't Egypt and the other Arab countries let the refugees in? And they're not. All the rest of the Middle East, the Arab Muslim world, will not take them in. You should see the pictures of the border between Egypt and Gaza. It's like 10 times as big as the wall between East and West Germany and East and West Berlin during the Cold War days. They don't want them either. In February, 100,000 people voted uncommitted in the Democrat Michigan primary as a warning to Biden they may stay home on Election Day if he continues his current stance on Israel. You know, you can't. He's trying to play both sides of the street. He's trying to support Israel money-wise and other things. Meanwhile, he has the highest-ranking Jewish elected official in Chuck Schumer, unfortunately my senator, as the majority leader in the Senate. the third in line for the presidency, ask for a change of prime ministers in the middle of a war to a democracy that's one of our biggest allies. The only democracy in the Middle East, mind you, asking for a change in the leadership. Can you imagine if the prime minister, I would say Winston Churchill, during the World War II, as the United States was still neutral and they had the Lend-Lease program, we'll say 1940, 1941, before Pearl Harbor, Winston Churchill announced that he wants to see a change in the presidency in the United States. That's in essence what's happened. We're not against the Israeli people, Chuck Schumer said. We're only against Netanyahu, their prime minister, who was duly elected by the Israeli people. And even the opposition parties, the people that would like to be prime minister over Netanyahu, sit down daily at a table, and they're all on the same page. Destroy Hamas. That has to be done. Sadly, people are going to die. It's just an unfortunate part of war. It happens in every war, and it's sad, and it's disgusting, but sometimes things have to be done. This situation was not created by the United States and Israel. It was created by Hamas. And for over 2 generations now, they've been brainwashing their people. There's a video out the day of 9/11, when the Twin Towers went down in New York, of the people in Gaza cheering, tens of thousands in the streets cheering. Those are the parents of the people that are in Gaza now. So not everybody is so black and white. But anyway, folks, they're starting to panic, and they're starting to make excuses why their candidate, Joe Biden, might not make it. But I want to mention one thing to Trump supporters out there, or people thinking about voting for Trump. Don't get too confident and don't get too cocky. You never, ever know what the Democrats are going to pull. And they have pulled some crazy shit over the years. Don't let them do it again. And don't think Trump's got it in the bag. Get out as many people as you can to vote if you live in New York like me and any upcoming Republican primaries. Run the numbers up as high as you can. People are creatures of habit. If they vote for Donald Trump in the primary, even in states like New York, which is a closed state, so only Republicans can vote, if you run up the numbers, those same people will come out in November, more than likely. Anyway, folks, the world is turned upside down now. Donald Trump is beating one of the worst presidents in the last century. Boy, what a shock. Until next time, God bless, goodbye, and good luck.